Hello everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast. This audio podcast is part of the Cytometry Cyclone. This audio podcast is part of a Rakas and Bombard episode, and this audio podcast as part of a Storm Robotics production. Through this audio podcast today, just a look at some of the sort of citations or references that sort of form or that sort of form and are part of this audio podcast this audio podcast episode and or series. So public works by Zinkernagel and Blandon, looking at macrophage activation in mice lacking thymus-derived T cells, published in the journal of Experientia in around 1975, and then works by Doherty and Zinkernagel, and looking at a biological role of the major histocompatibility antigens, published in Lancet in 1975, and then works by Cohn, that's Cohn, in looking at immunology and what are the rules of the game, and looking at published in Cell Immunology in around 1970, in 1972, and then works by Helderman and Gorel, and where works were published as a chapter as a chapter within a handbook of kidney transplantation, the chapter in around transplant immunobiology, in the handbook by Danovich, in as the third edition of the handbook, and then works by Waldman and Monroe, looking at T cell dependent mediator in the immune response, part two, and looking at physical and biological properties in immunology, and works from 1974, and works by Heger, looking at T cell allorecognition and transplant rejection, a summary and update, published in the American Journal of Transplant in 2003, and additionally works by Waldman, looking at the immuno the by Waldman, looking at the biology of interleukin 2 and interleukin 15 implications of cancer therapy and vaccine design, published in Nature Reviews Immunology in around 2006, and also Waldman, works by Waldman, looking at interleukin 15 in the life and death of lymphocytes, immunotherapeutic implications, trends in molecular medicine, in around 2003, and then works by Hancock and team, looking at chemokines and their receptors as markers of allograft rejection, and targets for immunosuppression, published in Current Opinion of Immunology in around 2003, and then works published by by Mohammed and team, and is it works by Mohammed and team, looking at educational support surrounding chronic kidney disease. Chronic kidney disease, a qualitative inquiry published in 2023, and also works by Mohammed and team, looking at the renal patient support group, the RPSG, supporting patients with chronic kidney disease through social media, published in 2014. Works also by Mohammed and team, looking at understanding education for healthcare service users aligned to social media platforms, published in the JOKC in 2024, and finally works by works by authors by authors by looking at works by authors Segura Segura, that's Seger, and team looking at chemokine receptors and renal disease, from basic science to pathophysiological and therapeutic studies, published in the Journal American Society of Nephrology in 2000. In as part of this, in as part of the audio podcasts, in as part of the audio podcasts, and in around the synopsis, there will be a sort of a list of the different citations or references that listeners and viewers can use and access by inserting the citations and references into search engines to identify the full publications, and if not the full publications, then works and publications that are similar thereto. So that draws this audio podcast to a close. This audio podcast as part of the Cytometry Cyclone. This audio podcast as part of the Rakas and Bombard. And this audio podcast, this audio podcast as part of the Rakas and Bombard episode, and this audio podcast as part of a Storm Lobostics production.